Hi, I'm Ashley Hawkins, and I'm the Manga librarian. And today we're talking about what I've been reading and watching this week. So, let's talk about it. So for this past week, it has been my spring break, so I have actually read quite a bit this week, so I have a lot to talk about. I haven't watched too much. My husband and I are watching through Zeta Gundam at the moment, so we have watched that. Last week we also watched the first of the Evangelion movies because we're watching through those as we prepare for the final Evangelion movie to eventually make its way over here at some point. Maybe. I don't know. Hideaki Anno, if you are watching this, what's up, man? What's going on? So, whatever. Sorry. Also, the weather's warmed up, so now, like, I'm getting this postnasal drip and my eyes are, like, itchy. So, delightful. Tea. So, let's talk about what I've been consuming. So, as I said, I've been watching Zeta Gundam. I just made a whole long video all about Mecha, and I talked a lot about Gundam. So, I won't talk too much about Zeta Gundam, and I'm not at the end yet, so whatever. I am really enjoying it. It's the only anime I'm currently watching. I do have to finish up bottom tier character Tomozaki, and I need to finish up Wonder Egg Priority, but I'll talk about those probably next week because I've got so much manga to talk about. The other thing is, like, my husband's really busy with grad school right now, and we tend to watch things together. We have very common tastes when it comes to film and anime and stuff like that. So I tend to, like, sometimes I'll see like the first couple episodes of an anime and then I'll be like, oh, Matt really will want to watch this with me, and then I kind of shelf it for when we can watch it together, and then that means that it gets really pushed back in terms of like when we can watch it because he's currently in library school, and that means he I think the primary audience of my videos knows what library school's like. But he's in his last semester, so maybe this summer we can sit down and watch some stuff together. That's just kind of what's going on. But we do watch our Gundam basically every night. We have some nights where we can't because of schedule stuff. This week is going to be a little tricky. I've got a lot of meetings this week. But anyway, what I've been reading, because reading is something I do on my own. So, the first I'm going to talk about is a manhwa that I, paid for some coins for because I couldn't resist. It's a manhwa that is on Legion Comics, which is an application that you can get on your phone. It is called Just for a Meowment. And like I said, I could not resist. So, something you should know about me as a reader is that ever since I was a tiny child, my primary fixation has been cats. That is I am above all things, above being an anime enthusiast, above being anything else. I'm crazy for cats. There's even a term in Japanese for this. It's called abyoke. I love all things cats. I collect things cats. And so, if there's a story with cats in it, I have to read it. So, I try to avoid paying for manhwa which I explained why. It primarily is because it can get really expensive really fast, and I actually last year did spend a bit more than I wanted to on manhwa, and so I have abstained quite a bit. But I am allowing myself to read this title because it is about a girl, or a woman, I should say, not really a girl. She's a grown woman. She is a professional, who has lived kind of a miserable life at the beginning of the story. She reaches kind of this point where something really terrible happens, and she actually makes a decision to take her own life. The story starts out dark, but it's actually not. It's not too dark. Trust me. It does have some dark themes, though. It's something to be mindful of. So she does start off the story by, deciding to take her own life, but she's stopped by a Grim Reaper who tells her that, she needs to have a bit more of a life experience. So he gives her 100 days. And in those 100 days, she's to experience love. And he puts her into the form of a cat. But it's not that simple. She actually goes back and forth between being a cat and a person. Whenever he's on duty, she actually transforms back into her human form. And then when he's not on duty, she transforms back into a cat. The Korean idea of Grim Reapers is different than our idea of Grim Reapers. But anyway, they appear pretty frequently in Korean media. They play a big part in my favorite K-drama of all time, which is called Goblin. Absolutely my favorite K-drama of all time. I've watched it a couple of times. Has the best theme song ever. But anyway, we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about Just for a Meowman. It has really cute art. She gets taken, as she is transformed into a cat, she gets taken in by her boss. And they actually develop a really sweet relationship. It's a slow burn romance. So, they haven't made out or anything. They're just, two people in a wacky situation together where one of them keeps transforming into a cat. So I really like reading this one. It's super fun for me. I'm all caught up now, so now I just will read it on a weekly basis. I bought about $10 worth of coins. We'll see if that sustains me for the duration of the story. Hopefully I won't get seduced into getting into another story on Legion, so that I can just focus on putting my coins towards this story. So that's Just for a Meowment. So let's get into the manga that I've been reading, because that's probably more what you want to hear about. So here we go. Here we are. So let's just start from the top with so the first one that I'm going to talk about is a series called The Writer and His Housekeeper. So this is a series that I definitely would, not purchase for my school library, because it is a josei, sort of ecchi series. It's an adult series. It is, I really have fun reading this one. Let me see if I can pull up the information on this one. I believe, it's not explicit, but it definitely has like some sexy elements to it. I've read volumes 1 and 2. It's a what's called a digital first, and it's from Kodansha, which means it's also not available, I think, on Overdrive yet. Um, but it's it's really cute. Um, it's about a a young woman who is a housekeeper, and she is taken in by a writer who happens to be a novelist of the erotic sort. And he has a tendency to play out his scenes with her. Um, and it's kind of wacky. Um, I found it a lot of fun to read. And it's just really interesting. Um, they have an interesting relationship. Eventually, they build an understanding. They get to know each other better. Um, and the relationship is, like I said, it's really interesting. Oh, somehow I wound up in the preview. I'm probably gonna pick up volume 3. I read volumes 1 and 2. Um, yeah, it's really cute. It's funny. Um, the first scene is kind of, you know, but she's actually pretty firm with him about her boundaries and what's acceptable, and um that I think is what made this series kind of work for me. It's not like he's just forcefully taking advantage of her. She does, like I said, establish her boundaries, and he ultimately comes to respect them. And it's more about, what they enjoy as adults. And that's something that I, as an adult consumer of manga, enjoy, is reading stuff about grown-ups and grown-up relationships. And it's fun for me to read about grown-ups. So that's the first one. Like I said, that was more for me. I definitely recommend this when it's available to the public library market. I think it'll circ well. It's a lot of fun. I think it has appeal across multiple. I think it has appeal for a lot of different readers. It's just a fun concept, and it's a funny read. The next one, I tend to be very effusive and very happy with most of the things I read, and part of it's because I read a lot of things based on recommendation and reviews. So after I talk about this one, there will be some that I will tell you, this has been recommended by this person, and that's why I was really excited to read this, because I really trust that person's taste. This one I got curious about because I saw it on Bookwalker, and typically I don't go too crazy for things from Tokyo Pop, to be honest. But I picked this one up because I actually do have kind of a weakness for villainous isekai, and here's the thing: it's not like it's written poorly. It's written well. The art's really good. Translation's fine. Everything about it's good. It's just this particular manga and this particular story, I feel like, is very derivative of My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom, which is one of my all-time favorite series. I love the anime. I love the light novels. I have a lot of extreme fondness for My Next Life as a Villainess. And this, in a lot of ways, is taking elements directly from it. And, there are certain things that I wouldn't really hold over any of the villainous reincarnation stories that are popping up, because, like I said, I read a lot of them. And I like reading about people who have been, I don't know, I like reading about the reformed villainess and blah, blah, blah. But here's the problem with this one. It actually kind of takes the story structure, at least of the first volume of My Next Life of a Villainess, as a villainess, in which the reincarnated person who has become the villainess, first off, recounts how she recalled her reincarnation, but then you get the storylines of various characters wherein they flash back and explain how the main character, who is no longer a villainess at this point, let's be very frank, has won them over with the sincerity and kindness that she expresses. Because that is wholesale what My Next Life as a Villainess does. And that's what this story does. Each chapter is a character explaining how they met the main character, how she saved them in some way, or how she enriched their lives with her very unique perspective. And that is why I got kind of bothered by this, because, like I said, it's nothing wrong with it, but it just, I wanted to read something different. I wanted to read something different. And that was my problem with this one. I think I'm hoping maybe it'll come on Comics Plus, because Tokyo Pop has a partnership with Comics Plus. And maybe when Volume 2 comes around, maybe things will change. I don't think it can quite keep up with the comedy of My Next Life of a Villainess. So I would be interested to see where the story actually goes. But the initial setup is very similar, and I was a little bit, I was a little bit disappointed that I was just kind of reading something that was so derivative, because honestly, I really like the art style. I think it's really pretty. It's very lush. And I do like stories like this. It's just, do something unique, please. So, I gave it 3 stars. I didn't hit it too hard. I don't think there's, like I said, it's just not quite there. I think there are light novels that this is based on. Actually, I know there are. I'm sidestepping for no reason. There are light novels. I might look into them, and if there's enough differences, then maybe it's something I'll continue reading, but I don't know that I'm going to keep buying it myself. So, after that, the next one is one that I've heard recommended multiple times, and I just haven't gotten around to it. Finally, I saw Mama Loves Manga recommend this again and mention this again, and quite honestly, I think she and I have very similar tastes. So whenever she recommends something, I very much take her recommendations to heart because I don't know. Like I said, I think we have very similar tastes and we want very similar things out of our stories. So she brought this up again, and I was like, I've got to finally sit down and read this. And I did. It's called Mama Akuma, and it is about a demon that is summoned to be the mama to a little Japanese girl. And it is so cute. Oh my god, I love this story. It's very precious. It's a fun read. It's just really highly enjoyable. I think the character dynamics are really interesting. It's just such a great contrast. I love contrasting character situations where, there are these differences in characters and you have these very, very different characters that have been thrust together. So you've got this very pure, very hardworking child that's been paired up with this very intense demon that is actually really trying to be as successful and hardworking as possible. So he takes this role of being her mama very seriously and is, I think, in a lot of ways using this role to try and understand his past failures. And so there's actually, although it's a sort of slice of life comedy series, there's a bit of depth to this story that I really enjoy. And the illustrations are great. Once again, I refuse to look at ugly manga. Sorry. There's really great visual gags. It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to read. I really enjoyed this one. This one's a highly recommend from me. And also I just highly recommend it. Mama Loves Manga. Go follow her because she will always give you good recommendations. That's what I have learned. The next manga that I read is actually something kind of on a similar vein. It's called The Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting. I've mentioned before my kind of I tend to like Yakuza stories in my manga. And this one is another Yakuza story, but this is another sort of it's about a very rough and tumble Yakuza member who because he is so rough and tumble, gets assigned to take care of the young daughter of the leader of his Yakuza clan. And it's actually kind of a job that's given him to teach him responsibility and sensitivity, and he actually really does the job with a lot of sincerity. But it has, in its own way, it's very fish out of water. This is not a role that he commonly would take on. So he can't totally change his ways, and just the adjustment of these two very different characters and how they relate to each other and interact with each other. And it's a fun read. It's fun like, I look forward to what the next one will be like. Um, yeah, that's really all I have to say about this one. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about for today is something a bit different. This is A Witch's Love at the End of the World. This is actually a Yuri manga. And this one is really good. I need to get volume 2 of this. It's about an alternate world in which there are witches, and there are these 2 witches that, one is a full-fledged witch and one is a half-witch, and they are in a school for witches, and the half-witch really struggles when she first comes to the school, and the full witch takes her kind of under her wing, mostly by instruction under the head of the school, but they kind of form a connection and a relationship, and I don't want to give too much away. I never want to give too much away because some people really care about spoilers. But they form this very interesting relationship until something happens. And at the end of this volume, something happens that puts them both in a lot of danger, and there's something that's kind of revealed about the nature of witches and what happens when a witch falls in love, and how dangerous falling in love can be for a witch. And so this hits a couple of things that I really like about manga, and one of them is one of things that I look for in manga. Well, I love witch stories. I love witches. I love magic. I also really love the art style in this. I think it's really pretty. I really like the fine little details. Like this particular cover page is something that I really like. I like all these little details, but also the sort of simplicity of the character designs. And just there's something about this story that I really like. I think the characters are really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to how this story plays out. So that's really what I have read this week. Like I said, it's a lot. This video was way longer than the last one because I read so much and I had so much to say. So yeah, that's what I've gotten up to this week. If you want to know more about any of these series, I'm happy to share. If there's anything you'd like for me to talk about, there's a good chance. There's also like a lot of things that I've read in the past that maybe you're looking for some feedback on, a particular series, particular title. Let me know. I can give it a review. More than likely I've read it. Yeah, I'm gonna do some more reading this week. It won't be as much as I read this week. This past week, because I'm really busy this week. I don't have the time. I barely squeezed in the time to do this video. Like, I barely have... I can't believe I talked this much, because I really didn't have this much time to talk. So, yeah, that's really it for this week. I am gonna try and get a longer format video on shoujo manga out either this week or early next week. Shoujo contains a lot. I may have to split that into 2 videos because it's a big category of manga. So talking about it is going to take a lot. So yeah, that's my plan though, is to talk about shoujo manga next, and just keep moving through genres. So yeah, that's really it for today. I will see you in the next video.